Good morning and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Beth Hawley with the Arizona Association of Realtors, and we're pleased to present session 5 in the Art of Leadership, Art of Influence series with Dave Richards. Today's presentation will be about 35 to 45 minutes. We encourage you to be an active participant in these sessions. Feel free to ask questions during the webinar by writing them in the question box, or if you've dialed in, just simply click on the raised hand and we'll unmute your mic. So as always, today's webinar will be recorded and available next week on our website at AAR Online. Welcome, Dave.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Beth, and thank you all for taking time out of your schedule to join us for our 5th session in regards to the 6 ways of increasing your influence. Again, as we've talked about the beginning of each session here, though, I know that your time is valuable. We'll try to make sure that we stay tight to the time allotted, though, between that 30 and 40 minutes time frame, give opportunities for us to interact and talk. And so I ask that if you're not on the phone, but that you'll be ready to dial in, write in the little notes and be able to kind of, type in different questions or thoughts so that we can share them amongst the group. So please be present. I know that everyone is very busy and it's very challenging, of course, to set aside the time frame, but I hope that you can, again, just kind of take this opportunity to invest in yourself and really pour yourself in to our conversation today. So last Thursday, we talked about empowerment. We talked about how only secure leaders give power away, and how important it is for us to really understand what truly empowerment is. And so we talked about, again, what empowerment means, and that number one, that we see, or that it is seeing the potential of the individual and the proper fit for the job. Then number 2, and that's that evaluation part. Number 2, that's saying words that encourage, equip, and empower that particular person. The third part, and what empowerment means, is that you're sharing your knowledge, your experience, and influence with them. And the fourth part is really the modeling of of the behavior or the growth that you're looking for, and that is showing others your belief in them, and again, power given to them. So it's modeling, and it's also then letting them take off and fly. Well, this particular session, our 5th session together, though, and conversation, is we're going to talk about defining moments. And defining moments, I see, is really building upon our 3rd session and our 3rd time together of integrity. And you may think quickly about defining moments and how is that really going to be something that I can really build my influence off of. And I think that as we go through the conversation today, I hope that I'll reveal to you why defining moments and understanding what defining moments are and how you react during defining moments, how that will feed into your ability to increase your influence to those around you, and that I'll be able to impress upon you the importance of it. You see, these moments will define who you are as a person and as a leader, and will either exponentially increase your influence or diminish it. As we conduct and do different activities or the different areas to increase our influence in others, these particular moments in our life are going to, again, either increase or they're going to take away from the work or the relationships that we've built, though, in increasing our influence. Defining moment is defined as an event that typifies or determines all subsequent related occurrences. As I think about defining moments, I think about a particular leader that is one of my favorite leaders and stories in the history books, and that's Winston Churchill. You see, Winston Churchill led England during the World War II against the Nazis. And he was quoted in saying that in every age there comes a time when a leader must come forward to meet the needs of the hour. Therefore, there is no potential leader who does not have an opportunity to make a positive difference inside or in society. Tragically, there are times when a leader does not rise to the hour. You see, Winston Churchill certainly rose to the hour, as his decision and as he led through the country of England through the World War II, as the Nazis were dominating throughout Europe and he was seeing their allies continue to fall. That opportunity as a leader, though, to rise to the occasion to either A, lead the country into isolation and isolating themselves in hopes that they would be left alone, or B, leaning into the war and entering. His decision in leading the country actually then led to, number one, a strengthening of relationships between the United States and England that, again, we continue to enjoy today. In addition to that, it also, obviously, as we see within the history books, it led then to the winning of World War II in the Allied power, though, over the Nazis that were there. And so again, as we think about defining moments as leaders and increasing our influence during defining moments, I think we all can agree that Winston Churchill really embodies that type of leader that we would like to be. So what are defining moments? What is a defining moment, and what does it tell us in regards to things? Number one, I believe that defining moments, as we go through defining moments, it helps to show us who we really are. During these moments of time, as decisions have to be made, or we make decisions, I think sometimes we may think our priorities are in one, or we want our priorities to be in alignment of one particular way. Yet during these defining moments, it really puts the rubber to the road and allows us to see who we really are. And so it gives us, again, a true perspective, a true visual of, again, what's important to us, and again, that makeup, so that we can give a great evaluation and a realistic evaluation of who we are. Number two, it declares to others who we are, those that we have been working on influencing and helping their lives be better, that we're looking to pour into. These defining moments give an opportunity for others around us to see. I don't know, or I've done some studying and the psychology of baboons. I know lots of fun that's within that. But did you know that in a troop of baboons, that the community, so all of the other baboons, on average, look to the leader every 20 to 30 seconds. Can you believe that? All of the community of baboons look to their leader every 20 to 30 seconds. Pretty eye-opening as we want to increase our influence and our leadership there, to understanding the responsibility that comes from that those that are around us are looking to us daily. Maybe not every 20 to 30 seconds, as they may not be with us during that amount of time, but I guarantee you they're looking at you when you are not expecting or knowing about it. And so again, those defining moments give us the opportunity to, again, declare to others who we are. And the third part of defining moments, of what a defining moment is I believe that defining moments will also determine who we will become. So during those moments of decisions, they will shape. And so sometimes it may be within opportunities, defining moments, and we'll talk a little bit about this more later. But during those moments of opportunities, they're going to continue to shape and define our journey, into the future piece. So I want you to think about a few questions, and I want you to write down your thoughts in regards to these as I share a couple stories of defining moments, both that one is my favorite, one of my favorite business stories of a defining moment, and then a couple that I want to share with you personally from myself. And so I want you to just think about these particular questions, and in your notes section, if you can write down them, because at the end I'd like to circle back to these and see and have maybe a few of them be shared amongst the group in terms of what we learned, what those moments were, what we learned during it. Let's talk a little bit more and think about, the qualities that make a leader strong and effective in the midst of crisis or just an opportunity decision. And then also what activities can strengthen your character and prepare you to lead well during defining moments. So as we think about defining moments, I'm going to give you 4 types of defining moments that I believe, again, that we encounter. And there may be more, and you may have other ideas within this, but I just want to give you 4 to think about within it. So 4 types of defining moments that's there. The first one is groundbreakers. You see, these are opportunities for something new. Maybe it's, again, trajectory or changing or pushing the trajectory for yourself in maybe a new a new scope that's there. An example of a groundbreaker, I believe a groundbreaker defining moment. I love the story of the CEO, or that the CEO of Charles Schwab, Walt Bettinger, shares in an interview, a recent interview. During this interview, he shares about his master's education and going through. He was in his very last class. He had worked so hard to maintain a 4.0 throughout his entire education and school experience. And at this moment, though, he had his very last business class that he had, which was a business strategy course his senior year. The defining moment came as the last day of class was this final exam, this opportunity to put the exclamation point through his education to keep it perfect with a 4.0. You know, Bettinger then throughout that entire time spent hours studying for this final exam, practicing and memorizing the different formulas for calculations for the case studies that he was going to see on this particular exam. And on that last day of school, he shows up ready to just blow this test away. The professor then took a single piece of paper for the exam, though, and passed it out to everyone in particular class. This was definitely a bit of a surprise, as he had spent hours studying for this particular exam, and for all of the questions in this exam to be on one piece of paper was a bit perplexing. After he had handed that piece of paper out to everyone in the particular class, the professor stood in front of that class and asked for everyone to turn their sheet of paper turn their sheet of paper over. To everyone's surprise, it was blank on both particular sides that were there. And everyone is looking around at each other, perplexed in particular that. When the professor then spoke and shared with them, though, that he had taught everything that he could teach about business in the last 10 weeks. But the most important message, the most important question is this: what's the name of the lady who cleans the building? This particular final exam and this question had a major impact. It was a defining moment in Walt's leadership journey in Walt's life. You see, this was the only exam in which he failed. Her name was Dottie. He didn't know Dottie. He hadn't taken time to talk with Dottie or get to know Dottie. But this really gave him, and what he took away from this particular experience, though, this defining moment in his life that he would again use and learn from for the rest of his career, was what really matters in life. And that is, you should never lose sight of the people who do the real work. I believe that's a great example of a groundbreaker defining moment. Sometimes we learn, and it changes that trajectory in it. Second, heartbreakers. This may be, again, a failure or, again, a realignment or an opportunity for a realignment in priorities. You know, I want to be transparent. I want to share with you and be vulnerable with you. And I want to share with you a story or a heartbreaker defining moment that happened in my life. About 5 to 6 years ago, as most of you guys know, I've got 4 beautiful children. The joy of my life. I found myself 5 to 6 years ago laying on the couch when one of my kids came up to me and said, "Daddy, will you come play with us?" And in that defining moment for me, I caught myself thinking in my mind, you know what? I would rather just lay here and do nothing. And after I allowed myself that particular thought and that particular comment, I thought back again. And again, it elevated in the importance and the significance of priorities in my life, and how I didn't want to be that type of dad. I didn't want to be a dad that would just kind of lay around and be lazy and not be active and not create an active life for my children, to be able to be with them and enjoy life. And so that moment, I made a decision to change a lot of priorities in my life. I changed my eating habits. I changed the activity or exercising that I did. I began to run and look for ways to again incorporate these life decisions, these health life decisions into my family's life. We began doing some trail running and some obstacle course together. But that was a heartbreaking opportunity for me to really realize what was inside and the thought that I allowed myself to have and how I needed to reprioritize my particular life. The third type of defining moment is cloud breakers. You see, cloud breakers are opportunities for clear vision. And I'll share with you another, a cloud breaker defining moment in my particular life and specifically my particular career. You see, I've been with Wells Fargo for about 4 years, and honestly, I kind of stumbled into it. We often joke in the mortgage or just in the banking industry that no one really goes to school wanting to become a mortgage banker, but instead mortgage banking finds them. And that truly was what happened to me. You see, I'd spent 4 years in my particular career with Wells Fargo and had done really well at, in all the terms of success and accolades within that, when I found myself in a complacent and really kind of a bored state. And fortunately, I had a great leader and a great mentor in my life named Paul Olson. During a time in which we had our regular routine checkups of how things were going in the office and how the team was performing and what we needed to kind of concentrate on and develop, he stopped in the middle of our meeting and he paused and he looked at me and said, "Dave, what do you want to do with your career?" As a young kid at what, 21, 22 years old, I really, actually 22, 23 years old, I hadn't even put even a thought in that particular question. And so after a series of meetings with Paul and talking about options and thoughts within it, we talked about then the idea of mortgage. And that became a vision, an opening, a clear vision of where I stand today and being able to make that move and that shift. And so that was a cloud breaker defining moment in my career that then put forth the trajectory of what I would go on to do. Our fourth type that we want to talk about in terms of defining moments are chart breakers. You see, these are opportunities to give you or opportunities to allow or present the opportunity for you to take yourself to the next level or new levels that maybe you didn't even think was possible. The last story I'll share with you as far as a chart breaker defining moment in my particular career, and it was in 2009. I had done really well with that transition over to mortgage and really focused in growing a team and within the mortgage world down in the Phoenix and in the Valley. Things seemed incredible and life was great. We had just had, Amber and I had just had our second child and life was great. When I got a shoulder tap, and a tap of, again, someone that I had great respect for, in which he said, "Dave, I want you to think about something, because what we would like you to look at, or what I would like you to look at, is the opportunity for you to go and move to Utah, to lead the change that needs to happen to, again, revitalize the market of the state of Utah for us." At that particular time, to tell you honestly, I had never even stepped foot in the state of Utah. My wife, who we had been married then for 6 years, she was born and raised in the same house that her parents lived in and still lives in today. So that particular change was a dramatic and a big change. We saw it as a big risk that was there. As we then talked through the particular opportunity and the decision that began, we decided, and through careful prayer, we came to the conclusion that this was an opportunity, this was something that we were being called to step forward in and take that risk. You see, this was a chart breaker defining moment for me in my career, where I went from being a leader of producers in a team to then becoming a leader of leaders. And that gave me an opportunity to elevate myself and really tap into a passion that I didn't even know I had. So again, as we look at defining moments in your life, I'd like to circle back and ask if there's anyone who would like to share a specific moment in which in which they faced that again in their journey, their leadership journey that's there, and what did they learn from it? Does anybody want to share a particular defining moment? Okay, that's okay. We can talk and maybe we can share that on Facebook, but how about if we move to the second part? What qualities do you think or do you see that make a leader strong and effective in the moments of crisis or in those moments of defining moments? What are some of the qualities?
About empathy?
Empathy, yeah. Having the ability to see from the other person's perspective or through their be able to walk a mile in their shoes. Love it. Absolutely.
The people you have around you and your trust in yourself.
Absolutely.
Active listening.
Yes. Great. Active listening. What else?
Humility.
Humility. Yeah. Love it. That certainly can guide and lead us during times of crisis. Is there any activities that can strengthen your character or prepare you to lead through these particular defining moments? Anything that comes out or comes to mind in regards to activities that can strengthen? It's okay. Think about that. I think you think about the qualities, and again, what are some activities that will help improve those particular qualities? I want to give one more chance.
Webinar series.
There we Well, thank you. Absolutely. That is an activity, right? And I hope that you see value. And this is an area, though, that again will help you increasing your ways to influence and give you that opportunity to grow for those defining moments. Thank you. I want to give one more chance for anybody who wants to share maybe a defining moment that they had in their life and what they learned from it. Any type of moment that's there, from a career decision, personal, professional. Anybody want to share? It's probably difficult to type it all out because I think most of you guys are interacting through the type that's there, but I just want you to encourage you to share those, because I think sometimes as we vocalize those particular defining moments, it also gives us more clarity in regards to what we truly learned from there. One of my favorite coaches and authors is Tony Dungy. And you know, Tony was quoted in saying that opportunities for influence may arise when least expected. Be ready for them. And never underestimate the difference you can make in someone's life. It might even be a difference that lasts for an eternity. So I think as we think about defining moments, one thing that we really need to kind of grapple with and really understand is when do they happen? Will I know? Will I have this great opportunity to come into and see the test before, and will I be able to really grab a hold of this particular defining moment before? And I think one thing that we all need to really understand is that many times we won't know a defining moment is here until after it's been done, or till after a decision or that moment is gone. And so I think that one of the things that we really need to focus in on is not taking that perspective or the thought of sitting back and just saying, you know what, I got this. I'm going to know when defining moments are, and I can switch and make sure I make that right decision. As we talked about integrity, that we need to make sure that we're not flipping from a business ethics to personal ethics, that it's just ethics. We should be living life in a consistent manner. This is what allows you during these defining moments that if I don't have to switch my brain between one core beliefs to another, right, and knowing which way to go at particular moments, is when I live a life that's consistent and ethical in all nature, though, it allows me to better perform during these particular defining moments. You see.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
We have a call-in.
Awesome.
So, Eric, you are unmuted.
Thank you, Eric. Uh-oh.
I think I may have left him on hold too long.
Uh-oh. Oh, man.
You could get his attention.
Okay. Eric, we'll have time at the end, too, that I'd love to hear a defining moment. So if we can, if you can hold with us, and we'll make sure that we get you there. I'd love to hear you share, so for the group that's there. So one of the comments, or again, continuing down this thought process and making sure that we understand that many times defining moments are not something we know is going to be there. We don't wake up and say, today's going to be my defining moment in my career to make that right decision. I think it's important, again, we need to make sure we keep that continual theme of personal growth and preparing for things. That we need to look at, I love the quote that says, don't practice till you get it right, practice till you can't get it wrong. And so I think that as we look about that, another quote that I love is the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is practice. I think it's important for us, again, to reflect and look at is, are you ready? Are you prepared for defining moments that are going to intersect your your life today, tomorrow, or any other time that's in the future, both from a personal and professional part? So as we think about that and we look at the steps to prepare for those defining moments, I love the comment here on the slide that our lives are defined by moments, especially the ones we never see coming. And isn't that the truth? Isn't that really how things are? Is that when you look back, those particular moments, the moments that you didn't even know was going to happen, they become even more impactful and important as we look forward with it. So let's talk about 3 things and 3 ways to make sure that we're prepared for defining moments in our life. The first one is to reflect on defining moments from our past, and from the past and our past, both from history and then also from our own story and our own defining moments in our life that's there. You see, those who do not study history are destined to repeat its mistakes. Are you destined to repeat your mistakes? I think that as I think about the reflection aspect, I think that this is something that really gives me a sense of hope. And I hope it gives you a sense of hope also, in that I think that all of us can look in our past and see maybe some mistakes that we have made, maybe during some defining moments that were there, and some areas that we wish we would have maybe handled better. And this particular point allows us to look at those particular areas and make sure that we're evaluating them to learn. And it gives us a sense of hope that just because we've made mistakes in our past doesn't mean that you can't recover or, again, step back on the trajectory of both influence and, again, the future defining moments that are in your life. You see, the best teacher for a leader is evaluated experience, not just experience, but evaluated experience that's there. Again, a great reminder, a great book by John Maxwell is Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. Again, embracing this thought that, hey, we're gonna make mistakes in our life and in our journey of leadership and influence, but it's important for us to evaluate that so that, again, we can learn from those mistakes so that in the future we can make better decisions within it. Second part of preparing, obviously, is just preparing, right? That specific piece. So preparing for the defining moments in the future, to make choices, and we talked about this in our session of integrity, is to focus in on making choices before times of crisis, before the times of crisis or a decision that's there. So making that commitment, making that decision before those particular times are in front of us. I want to give you 12 examples of decisions that you can make daily that will affect or prepare you for defining moments. 12 decisions that you can make daily and commit to doing daily. Number one, attitude. You can choose and display the right attitude daily. Number two, priorities. You can determine and act upon important priorities daily. Health. Number three, you can decide and know and follow a healthy living style daily. Number four, family. You can communicate and care for your family daily. Number five, thinking. You can practice and develop good thinking daily. Number six, commitment. You can make and keep proper commitments daily. Number seven, finance. You can earn and manage your finances daily. Number eight, faith. You can deepen and live out your faith daily. 9, relationships. You can initiate and invest in solid relationships daily. 10, generosity. You can plan for so that you're able to model generosity daily. Number 11, values. You can embrace and practice good values daily. And the last one is growth. You can desire and experience improvement daily, which you all are showing by being and taking the webinar and taking time out of your day. You see, one of that area of commonality between all 12 of those is the decision that you can make daily. So going into the day with those particular decisions and others that you may want to list within that, with a predetermined outcome, a predetermined decision that you can control. And I think that prepares you, or better prepares you, for those particular defining moments that come upon your life. The third part, and these again, probably as we've talked about, are not anything rocket science or new or revelationary. Instead, they're just reminders for you. And again, I just ask that you look and see, how do you live them out? So the third part is to commit to make the most of defining moments in the present. So not looking for ways to bail out or dodge a particular defining moment, to avoid maybe a decision that needs to be, or prolong it, but instead look at those particular defining moments, those particular decisions that you have, lean into them, and really savor the opportunity of what this can and will become. And so again, it is in the moments of risk that the greatest leaders and influencers are often born. This is the opportunity. So again, seizing and seeing the present opportunity as an opportunity for your influence, your leadership to rise, to grow within this particular moment, and take it. Actually, what was shared earlier, though, in terms of traits, I want to dive a little bit further into, and that, of course, is talking about who you hang with. You see, a leader's potential is determined by those closest to them. Do you believe that? I think that, again, as we talk about being ready for defining moments, to perform under crisis or under pressure within it, whether it be, again, a positive defining moment, or maybe a lesson or a decision, maybe from an ethical or integrous way that's there, the people that you surround yourself matters. That will affect you, regardless of what you think about it, though. Those that you hang with will affect how you perform during defining moments. I love the particular quote from Jim Rohn Many of you have heard me say this particular quote, and I think that again, it really is something that you can apply to your life across the board as you look and reflect upon your life and where you're currently at. And that is that Jim Rohn is again often quoted sharing, though, that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You can't spend the most time with individuals who maybe live a life across ethical standards that you want to live, or again, who are poor money managers and don't again control their finances. You can't surround yourself with those individuals and expect yourself to make the right decision or the decision that you want to make during those particular defining moments. So it's important for us to take a step back and evaluate who we are surrounding ourselves with. Preparing yourself for defining moments is found in who you surround yourself with. And I believe that that is one of the critical pieces that we all need to embrace and understand is that particular deal in terms of surrounding yourself. I'd like to pause here, and Eric, if you're still on the line, can we have you, can we unmute you and see about having you maybe share a defining moment that has happened in your career or in your life? Beth, is Eric still with us?
I don't think that he's dialed in anymore.
Okay.
I know too how we're dialing in. I think when you, oh no, he is here, great. We'll give it another shot. I think I know what the problem is, but go ahead. I think we're still not hearing him. I think the issue is he initially called or registered, logged in as a computer, right, and tried to call in, and the system isn't recognizing that he's on the phone. I apologize. So that's a glitch we won't have next time.
Not a problem. And maybe, Eric, as we kick off Thursday's session, we can start with, as we, of course, kind of recap today, we can start with your particular defining moment to share. And so if you don't mind, I'd love for you to save it, and we'll be ready for Thursday's session to have you share that with the group, because I think it's very valuable that's there. So as we close our time together today, and as we think about, again, defining moments and how they will exponentially increase our leadership or actually diminish it, exponentially increase our influence or diminish it. As we think about that, again, ending on what I believe is one of the most important attributes or one of the most important parts of being ready for those defining moments, and that is who you surround yourself with. I want to leave you with a couple questions, and I put one of the questions in regards to your in the Facebook page that's there. And so I hope that you maybe thought about that, and I'd love for you to share if you want to, that's there. But some of it is even just just a thought question for you to think through, and that is, number one, are you surrounding yourself with people who lean or lift? Think about that. Are you surrounding yourself with people who lean on you or who lift you up? And are you intentionally, again, spending time with those people that are going to help you during defining moments and lift you up versus those that, again, lean on you? The second question is that, or the second point that and question that's there is, nobody does everything well. Are you surrounding yourself with folks that make you better or more complete? I think that this is one of those things that we need to, again, evaluate with who we're surrounding ourselves. As it was shared earlier in terms of being ready and preparing for defining moments, it's important to have those around you that, again, can see maybe blind spots that you may have. And so I think that, again, part of defining moments and preparing for it as we think about making sure that we've evaluated the experiences to, again, make it be the best teacher by evaluating the experiences that we've had in life, both wins and also opportunities and lessons learned. As we think about, again, preparing ourselves for defining moments, being active and making choices and decisions before we begin the day, and then again during those particular moments to lean in rather than lean away from those particular moments. I think that it's important again for us to look at those people around us to help encourage us and help us grow within it. I'd like to leave you all with a last quote from Mother Teresa. She was quoted in saying that you can do what I cannot do, and I can do what you cannot do. Together, we can do great things. Thank you all for your time today. I hope that this again will help you look for those opportunities to be prepared for defining moments in your life and reflect upon those. And again, we can do great things together. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.